Hi, welcome to the Sugarcraft School. I'm Rachel Hannah, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how you can create this beautiful contemporary panel technique. It's perfect for modern minimalist cakes and it's super easy to do. So let's get started. So I'm going to talk you through exactly what you're going to need for this technique in terms of tools and equipment. So the main material I'll be using is flour paste. I'm using the Squire's Kitchen flour paste because it sets quite quickly. If you are using sugar paste, you might find that these actually misshape quite easily, in which case you can switch it up for the flour paste, or you can even potentially mix it 50-50 sugar paste and flour paste. So I'm just working with a small amount at each time, so I've conditioned this with a little bit of Trex or vegetable fat, and I'm just working from a small portion at a time so that it doesn't go too firm as I'm working with it. Obviously you can colour this, we're just going to do these in white for now, but you can colour this before you do this effect for whatever colour scheme you're working with. I then have a small roller, a craft knife, a pizza wheel, and this little cutting tool. This is a fabulous little tool. It's the FMM multi-ribbon tool. You can change the settings on these just by changing the spaces here. Show you. So just by changing the configuration of all the different spaces, you can change then the width of the cutter of the ribbon that you're going to cut. And then just screw those back together again, and then you've got the tool width that you want. So I am using, it's just under 2.5 centimeters for these, but you can set them whatever width you want. Obviously, if you're working on a much bigger tier, then you might want to go slightly wider, and then you can get around the whole tier with fewer actual cuts. And the final thing I've got is I've prepared myself a template for the height of the tier. So this is just going to make it a lot easier to cut each panel to the same height without having to measure each time with a ruler. So just measure to the very top of your tier. If you want them to come above the tier, whatever height you choose, just cut yourself a little template out of card, and it will make it a bit quicker to get everything cut. So to begin with, I've just conditioned my flour paste with a little bit of Trex or vegetable fat, just to make sure it's nice and pliable and gives a good stretch. If the flour paste you're working with is super stretchy, then you might find that these misshape a little. So you can add a firming agent if you feel that that's happening. So we're just going to give it a little bit of a roll out to begin with. And then we're actually going to put it through a pasta roller, which is just off camera, so I'll do that and come back and show you the thickness. I'm just giving it a pre-roll here for it to go into the pasta roller, so it doesn't get stuck and become misshapen in the roller. Okay, so I would say that's been rolled to about 2 to 3 mils, just under 3 mils. And I've just got a few little air bubbles in here, so I'm just going to get rid of them. There we go. So I'll run this through the pasta roller and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've run that through the pasta roller. I run mine to number 6 for this. I don't want them too chunky because we're going to be overlapping them and I don't want it to build up that much. But every pasta roller is a little bit different. So this is now just under 1 mil thick. So whatever setting that is on your pasta roller, just run each section of paste through that to the same thickness each time. And then we're just going to run the cutting wheel up in 2 strips. Remove the excess. And pop that back into the Ziploc bag, and we can reuse that. If you find that your paste is sticking to the board or your worktop while you're working with it, you can just pop a little bit of corn flour down just to help with the sticking so that it's not becoming attached to your worktop. Okay. So then I'm going to line these two strips up together and create myself a cut edge at the bottom, which is straight. And just line them up, making sure they're nice and straight. And then I pop my template over and use the pizza wheel to cut across. And again, just remove the excess and pop it back into the bag. And then you would just pull this down and do the same again, repeat it until your full strip's been used up and any excess goes back into the bag and can be rolled out again. So just keep working your way through that until you've used all of the strip up. Okay, if you have any scraggly edges, you can just quickly trim them off with your craft knife, just so that you've got a really nice clean edge on every strip. And then we're going to go ahead and line them up on a foam drying mat just to firm up. So we're wanting to make sure the mat is flat, and we're wanting to make sure that these are lined up nice and straight, because this is giving us a really nice clean contemporary effect. We want them all to look identical and nice and straight. So repeat that process until you've got enough panels to fit around your cake, and then we'll come back. So when they've been set for a little while, you don't need to let these set so they're completely solid. So these have been set probably about an hour, and they've still got a little bit of flex in them, but they're nice, you know, they're holding their shape nicely, so they'll stand in place. When we attach them onto the cake, they'll stay. But a little tip for actually attaching them to the cake, you might want to just get your ruler and making sure your ruler is completely flat onto the work surface. Just score your cake at intervals all the way around, just so that while you're attaching these, you've got a straight guide. They don't have to be any particular measurement, but just something as a guide to align the strips against, to make sure that you're not putting them on at a jaunty angle, or you're not going off kilter with the angling. Obviously, if you want to be doing them on an angle, that's absolutely fine. But for this one, we're trying to keep them all nice and straight. So I'm just going around and scoring the cake first. So I've got that benchmark continuously going around the cake to check. Okay, so then to attach them around the cake, I'm just using some edible glue, and I've got a small paintbrush that I'm just going to be using to attach each panel, and then we'll slightly overlap as well. So the first one to go on, we're just going to attach a little bit of edible glue down the back. Don't be using excessive amounts. And then align your first panel up, and this will be the back of your cake. So the very last one will be the back. Now, I would say I'm obviously working at a strange angle here for the camera, but I would always advise with something like this, where you're wanting something to be very precise and neat, that you always work with the cake directly in front of you and move the cake around so that you're always working at a comfortable angle. But also lift it up so you can work at eye level is ideal, or you'll be doing a lot of squatting down to make yourself at eye level with the cake. Then with all the other strips that follow, we're going to just put glue on one side. So we're going to attach this slightly overlapping the previous one. We've got our guideline here to make sure it's straight. We can keep an eye on that top bit there. And we've attached down this side here, but this side has no glue because it's slightly overlapping the previous panel. So glue down one side What I would say is obviously these, you can see these are still a little bit flexible, which is absolutely fine to attach at this stage. But if you have let them firm up completely overnight, you might find royal icing is a bit quicker to attach them. Sometimes the glue can take a little bit longer to secure in place on something that's fully set. But you could also use piping gel if you don't have glue or royal icing. But any of those will be fine. Obviously with the royal icing, we don't want to put loads on, so don't be putting so much royal icing on there that it starts oozing out of everywhere. We want this to be quite clean and neat. Coming up to my next guideline here, so this is helping me make sure as I approach that I'm nice and straight still, even though I'm working at a strange angle. So as I get to the end around the back of the cake here, we're going to obviously join up the last panel with the very first one. I'll just turn this around so you can see. I've overlapped these about a third, but obviously the more you overlap them, the more of an overlap you have, the more panels you'll need to actually then get around the whole area of the cake. So just try and be sort of consistent. I never sort of measure it, I just do it by eye. But these are overlapping by about a third each time, which I feel for this size of panel, it feels like a nice amount. So you can see here, this is the first panel that we put on. This is the one I've just popped on. So we could probably do with another couple here at the back. So I'm going to go make those now, and then we'll tidy up this back bit. So far in this cake, I've put 24 panels round. It's a 5-inch round tier. The panels are about 15 centimeters tall, I think. And we've got 24 panels overlapping by a third, approximately, to get around this cake. And I'm just going to add the last few to finish off the joint. Okay, so that fits really nicely actually around that last section, but you can see I've got 2 flats, so there's no overlap on this last section. So I'm actually going to just pop one more over the back, just trim off, there's a little bit of a rough edge on that, so just trim that. Now if this area for you was a little bit tighter, you could trim this and put a smaller section over that joint at the back to create a final overlap if you wanted, or you could even just pull this edge off, just lift it up slightly. I think actually it might give us a better finish, so I think we'll do that. And just tuck this final one in behind the edge of the very first one. And like I say, if it's a bit too cramped there, you can trim that last panel to make it a little bit thinner so that it fits in and doesn't look too squished. There we go. And then just get down at eye level with your cake and make sure none of these sections, so this little bit here is sticking up a little bit, so you can go in with a craft knife or a pair of tiny little craft scissors and just give a trim to any bits that are sort of sticking up above that perimeter. You might have the odd one that's been slightly miscut or stretched slightly as you've been moving it onto the foam mat. So just get down at eye level and go around and check to make sure they're all nicely meeting that top edge of the cake. And then there's your effect. So leave that to set until the glue obviously is properly firmed, and then you'll be able to handle it like normal. and carry on decorating the rest of your cake. So in total that took 26 panels around a 5-inch cake. Remember, each panel was approximately, it was 2.4 centimetres wide, and we've overlapped them by about a third. So it really took no time at all. It's something super quick and easy, and I'll be showing you something else that you can do to add some colour to this technique in a different video, so watch out for that. And here we have the finished bottom tier, 26 panels going right around the cake, really nice and clean, contemporary, and ready to be finished off. So I hope you like this technique. It's super quick and easy, contemporary, and anyone can do it. So please do give it a go and let me know if you do. I'd love to see what you come up with for the rest of your cake design, how you incorporate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me some comments in the comments section if you enjoyed this video. Thanks, bye.